An injury-plagued Oregon team going down to Los Angeles, Pasadena in particular, to take on UCLA, Oregon at 3-6. A moral victory somewhat against Arizona State last week. They lost 24-21, but they scored some points finally. Yeah, they made some things happen. They created, I think it was like 3 turnovers in the fourth quarter. They blocked a couple of kicks along the way, one for a touchdown. So that part, for Rich Brooks' thinking, is encouraging. The problems, as you mentioned, are all of the injuries. So, you know, what can you say?
2 straight bowl games, they won't get their 3rd straight. How devastating is that for a program like Oregon's that has been on the build and the build and the build, and now, boom?
Well, I think, you know, that Rich Brooks has established that program, certainly in recent years, as you mentioned, the 2 bowl games, that what is important now is that they get those young people to not lose any kind of confidence, and they build on looking forward to next year. I think that is the key factor at this stage, Don.
Okay. Good coaches start now to rebuild for next year, even though they're struggling at this time in the last 2 weeks of the regular season. Such is the case for Coach Rich Brooks down at Oregon. Here's Todd McKim.
As winter descends on the Willamette Valley, the Ducks wish the rains would wash away what has been a nightmarish season. The year began with impressive victories over Washington State and Texas Tech. The Ducks appeared headed to their 3rd consecutive bowl game. But a rash of injuries, especially at the quarterback spot, quickly dashed any postseason aspirations. As the Ducks enter Week 10, they face the prospects of starting their 6th different quarterback in 6 weeks. With 6 losses already, the Ducks will suffer their first losing season in 5 years. Pride will be the major motivator on this trip to the Rose Bowl.
So just go out there and prove to the nation that we're still very, you know, should be a respected team, and just to prove ourselves so we can get it going, get a win.
Effort has not been the problem. The Ducks continue to play hard. Last week at Arizona State, Muhammad Oliver's punt block and return symbolized the never-say-die attitude of this team. And even though victories have been few and far between, nobody is pointing fingers.
I think every loss that we have is a total team loss. I don't, you know, everyone points the fingers at our offense or something, but I mean, all year our special teams haven't played good, and our defense is supposed to be a lot better than it was.
With 2 games remaining, a winning season and bowl games have vanished, but not the competitive fire in the coach.
We have 2 chances left. We're going to try to win some football games. It's not meaningful from bowl games or championship or anything, but it's meaningful to the people that are playing the game.
In Eugene, this is Todd McKim for Pac-10 Preview.
Thanks, Todd. Now, UCLA coming off that tough loss to Stanford down on the farm, 27-10. So few points down for UCLA, only 10 points. They averaged over 30 going into that game.
Well, you know, they've had their problems in the early part of the year. And one of the things that Donahue wanted to establish was consistency. They had found that at one point, but Stanford's defense this past week was superlative. It looked like the Huskies. They were on the attack all the time. They did not give Tommy Maddox much opportunity to throw the football, and they stuffed the running game, essentially.
Yeah, Tommy suffered a concussion in that game. Is he okay?
Yeah, he went into hospital briefly, purely precautionary, and they didn't seem to find any problem. A slight concussion should be all right.
Okay. While the loss to Stanford was bitterly disappointing to Terry Donahue and the Bruins, it by no means knocks them out of the bowl picture. As a result, they need to forget last week, pin their ears back, and run for the sun.
UCLA's sidelines have been a pretty happy place. There were thoughts of 9-2 and a shot at a New Year's Day game. Well, all those smiles were lost last Saturday night at Stanford. Now, the Bruins are looking to pick up the pieces.
We have to go back out and recapture that feeling and that level of performance that we had prior to the Stanford game. We've got 2 very critical and important weeks ahead of us, and we've got to just make sure that we go back out and get back to the fundamental things that brought us to a point of being an improved football team, and now we've got to just try to refine those things and get better.
The biggest blow, the meal ticket. Tommy Maddox was carried off the field against Stanford. Should Maddox not be able to go against the Ducks, then quarterback Jim Bonds will head up the Bruin team.
I'll run the first team for these few days, and it'll be nice to be back, you know, in the starting lineup for a few days. And if something happens and Tommy's too sore or can't start on Saturday, then I'll be ready to go.
Oh, there will be a bowl game, the first in 3 years, but which bowl will be determined if they win on Saturday.
You can't look to the past except to learn from it. We have to look to the Stanford game, learn from our mistakes, and go on. We made a lot of them, but we can't just wallow in that misery forever. We got to go on to the next battle.
Success is close if the Bruins can remember how to win. In Los Angeles, I'm Dennis Kirkpatrick, Pac-10 Preview.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Keep in mind, Oregon and UCLA have split the last 6 games against each other, but Oregon has won the last 2 straight.
Well, you know, if you look back, Rich Brooks was on Terry Donahue's staff at one point, so I'm sure he has a good insight to his philosophy. On the other hand, you still have to execute and perform both on offense and defense. I don't know how much of an advantage it is. When you look at the matchups, Don, going into this football game, unfortunately for Oregon, as banged up as they are, as you had mentioned earlier, from the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line too quick. For Oregon, they get the edge. Running backs, good depth with UCLA, and Kevin Williams leads that group. Sean Burwell, a terrific running back for Oregon, been hurt all year. UCLA gets the nod. Quarterback-wise, no question, Tommy Maddox. And receivers, well, everybody knows about LaChapelle and the numbers that he has racked up this season. So UCLA sweeps the board in those categories. Defensively, from the defensive line standpoint, UCLA continues on a roll. They get the nod there. And when you go to the linebackers, the Oregon team, led by Joe Farwell, pretty outstanding group. They get the edge. And the secondary, both of them pretty good. Good quickness, good coverage, people. I call it even. And kicking-wise, no question, UCLA's had some problems. Oregon gets the nod in that category. When you go to the intangibles, well, it's important from Oregon's standpoint not to fold up. They want to create an upbeat attitude, look forward to those young players into '92. And as far as UCLA is concerned, maintain that drive for an excellent season. They could go 8-3 and a better bowl game.